Every year, we honor a woman that has done extraordinary things in her career and thereby deserves the Wire Leadership Award. Past winners have included Wendy Silverstein, who I'd like to stand up so you all know she's here. Come on, Wendy.
Wendy.
Shang Xin of Soho, China, and Seven Valleys, who had 20 cameramen from China in the back of the room. And Margaret Anadou of Goldman Sachs, who ran the affordable housing platform and now is their global head of sustainability and impact. So I'm thrilled to sit here to interview my friend Joanne Muniry. And currently she's the COO of RXR Development Services. She's a true powerhouse and a phenomenon in an industry where she does not seek the limelight, but certainly earns all of it. So I'd like to begin by asking you to describe how you grew up. Can you paint us a picture of your family, what your parents did, where you grew up, and what their likely expectations were for you as an adult?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Darcy, for that kind introduction. No, I don't, this is extremely uncomfortable for me, but I'm excited to be here today. You know, I grew up, we're going way back now. I'm an Italian-American. I grew up in an Italian-American family in Brooklyn, New York. I have a sister and two brothers. And, you know, in our family, family has always been an important part of our foundation, and it's a big part of my foundation. So before I even start talking about my journey, I have to mention that my niece, Tatiana MINIERI, is an NYU student, and she's here today in the audience. I love you, Tati. Thanks for being here for your Aunt Jane, okay? So I grew up in an Italian-American family. My mother was, and my parents were wonderful, loving parents, but they really enforced the importance of education. And, you know, in an Italian-American family, typically the male is the dominant player in the family, but not in my family. My parents thought it was critically important for us, my sister and I, to get the education, prepared to take care of ourselves. And I think a lot of that just stemmed from the fact that it is important to be able to take care of yourself, to find a purpose for yourself, so that you can be the best you can be. So a lot of my formative years were really based upon understanding what I would need to be able to sustain my own lifestyle, so that I didn't necessarily have to rely on somebody else to give me the things I wanted.
Interesting.
And I think for all of us within my sibling group, we all are very individual, different people. We all are driven professionals. But I think it came because my family instilled the need to be ambitious. And I have to say this because it's really, the three words that are etched in my head from my mom as I was growing up is, make sure you can get a job. And that was big for me, because I think when I was thinking about this interview, Darcy, I said to myself, oh gosh, she's gonna ask me about my younger years. And I started to think, and honestly, ever since I was able to have a job, I had one. Mm-hmm. From high school through college and, you know, right into work. So I think that had a lot to do with who I am today, because I constantly was doing something to earn a living.
Yeah, it's funny. We both grew up with a Catholic background. We both grew up with mothers who were like, you're going to work. Like, right. You have no choice. Right. So where did you head off to university, and what did you decide to major in?
Okay, you know, so I went to a Catholic grammar school, public high school, and I ended up at Hofstra University on Long Island. And we stay close, the family here. Why did I go to Hofstra? I went to Hofstra because they sent me a scholarship. I didn't do a lot of research on it, I just went. And I ultimately ended up studying accounting. And I studied accounting because I was first thinking about going into, you're not gonna believe this, like, you know, marketing and maybe broadcasting. Here's someone who, you know, I don't really like to be in public. And then I was speaking to a professor, and he basically said to me, he said, you know, Joanne, if you're going to go in some form or fashion of business, and you like accounting, you should really always understand the fundamentals of a business, whether it's your personal business or a business that you're in with other people. So I ended up studying accounting, And I knew that once I graduated, I had to go get a job. So I didn't even think of going to grad school, to be honest. I studied accounting. I stayed at Hofstra for 4 years. I graduated with an accounting degree, and I went to their recruiting office. And long story short, I got my first job in a public accounting firm that actually specialized in real estate. So I just happened to end up in a company in public accounting. It was a small firm. It grew into a very big firm, Kenneth Leventhal and Company, where real estate was the key client, whether it was a home builder or valuations or forensic research. And I joined the firm.
Right.
And
yeah, it's funny. One of the things I always say to young women is, like, learn the economics of life and learn the economics of your business, even if you're in marketing. Doesn't matter what area you're in. If you don't know the economics of life, then you have an issue going forward as you try to carve out a career path. So anyone sitting in this room that's still in school, make sure you add some accounting or finance classes to your curriculum, because you cannot really move ahead effectively without them. So within the accounting firm, what was the work environment like? Any conflicts that helped set your course or developed how you approached your career?
Now that I have a chance to look back, it was probably one of the most important elements of my career path, working in public accounting or working in some sort of public role. I got to meet a tremendous amount of people. I had great clients. I mean, I haven't thought about, we're talking 20 years ago, I haven't really thought about my list of clients, but when I think about them now, from good bank, bad bank, to a REIT that went belly up in Florida, to I did testimony. I forgot about it, but I actually was on the stand with the judge supporting the valuations that I was doing for a client. But most importantly, I think what happened to me in my years in public accounting is I got to meet a lot of people, and for me, creating relationships that will last. I've gotten the opportunity to look back and realize that that was a very important element of my ability to be successful and to be able to grow in my career. And my first job in public accounting, I actually was there for 11 years, and I finally made partner. But the people I met there came back into my life later on, which you'll hear about. But my years in public accounting gave me the opportunity to work on different clients and get an understanding of the different opportunities that somebody in my profession could pursue. It was a great ride, and I had, I actually got to the partnership, but I never really stayed because I'm just going to go right into it.
Go on.
The really heartbeat of my career, I spent with Bruce Ratner at Forest City Ratner Companies, and he was one of my clients. He was in the process of creating his own development company. He was originally going to form a real estate investment trust, and we were the accounting firm that came in with the investment banking firm. And I'll never forget the day the partner on the job, Steve Shepsman, I got some of my colleagues here will remember, came into my office. He goes, "I'm sending you back home to Brooklyn. You're going to work with Bruce Ratner, and they're going to figure out how they want to form a real estate investment trust for Metrotech." Okay. We had to do years of audits, and I ended up working very closely with Bruce early on in the formation of the company. And at some point, he needed to hire a CFO. So I was in charge of finding his CFO for him. Okay. After like 4 or 5 interviews, nobody was really good enough for him. So finally, I walked into his office. I said, "Bruce, what are we doing here?" He goes, "What are you doing?" So what do you mean, what am I doing? He goes, "Well, why don't you be my CFO?" I said, "Why don't I be your CFO?" "Well, I'm about to make partner in the firm." He goes, "Okay, how long is that going to take?" Ultimately, I obviously joined Bruce, and we had an unbelievable career together. Forest City started out as a development company. That's what we did.
Right.
The talent that we attracted was, till today, the best in the industry. We had the opportunity to seize, well, we had the opportunity to really open up in areas that others weren't looking at. We had a tremendous, fabulous array of women who I'm so proud to have worked with. Some of them are still here with me today. Some of them are leading companies where they are. And I will tell you that my tenure at Forest City, I think, was probably the most dynamic and exciting parts of my career.
Yeah.
We developed in areas that nobody went to, right, Rebecca? Lauren, Dahlia, I mean, the team. We really opened up new communities. We knew the importance of working together and being a team players, everything that we do. Communicating and collaborating was critical for us. And one of the things that, you know, Bruce always brought to our business was laughter. You know, when you work in an industry with high risk, and it was very risky, a lot of things we did, and we continue to do here in the industry. When you can, you know, embrace that with some laughter and, you know, really understand and learn lessons and know that you're working together with people who care, I don't think I could have asked for a better career path.
Yeah, I often joke, you know, I wonder if Bruce actually employed any men. You know, it was really an extraordinary powerhouse breeding ground for women for that firm. But you also, I didn't actually have this as a specific question, but you got to work on creating Metro Tech, creating Atlantic Yards. Can you describe a little bit of that?
You know, we really had a tremendous group of people, and, you know, everything that we did was pioneering. We were in downtown Brooklyn. You know, that was my hometown. But everything we did was in neighborhoods where people really, you know, I don't think we're focusing on so much. We entered New York City later on in our FCRC's career path there. But we, you know, we just brought what communities needed. Whether it was Atlantic Center, which was the first one in downtown Brooklyn, then Atlantic Yards, which, as you all know today, is an incredible residential, and of course with the Barclay Center, you know, extraordinary. You know, I think when I think back on my career at Forest City, I also think about all the things we did in Yonkers and in the Bronx and in Staten Island, whether it was movie theaters or, you know, grocery store anchored retail, or, as we all know, 8 Spruce Street, which is extraordinary, a Frank Gehry design building. Oh, and did get designed and over again. You know, the New York Times building. I mean, everyone knows our colleagues out there. We really, 330 J Street, which was a courthouse at the bottom and offices at the top. Really extraordinary stuff. The 42nd Street retail. I mean, I can go on and on. 2 hotels we built. We really had a very dynamic team. We worked together. We, you know, we argued a lot, but we really, I really think we're like a family at Forest City, and it was extraordinary. And we did really incredible, groundbreaking things, and it's all around the landscape. You know, I look at New York City, and I see, you know, I see Beekman, I see the New York Times, I see the Barclay Center. You know, I love 42nd Street. Madame Tussauds is still there. We moved the AMC Theater. I mean, I can go on. And, you know, I see my colleagues who we've stayed together through our changes in our careers, but we all know deep down our family at Forest City just expanded, you know. Rebecca, Marianne, Dahlia, Lauren, Susie, everyone, Susan Ellman, Livia, we're all just extraordinary people. And Bruce was and is an extraordinary leader. If he saw talent, he knew how to get the best out of you. And it was a great ride. It was a fantastic ride. I mean.
So what made you leave the family to go to the public sector?
Well, you know, things happen, transitions occur. The industry was changing, and I just had, you know, it was time to just move on to something different. And I really was just taking a break. And somebody came after me. Somebody said, you know, Joanne, they need somebody to run economic development in Suffolk County. I'm like, what? But then I met the county executive, and I decided, you know what? I did a lot of public-private work at Forest City. Let me go see what's going on out there. I do have a house out in Suffolk County, so figured what the heck. And that was also another really extraordinary ride. They were transit-oriented development. They were doing economic development out in Suffolk County. Steve Vallone, who's still the county executive out there, he had a really dynamic agenda. So I brought a little bit of the private energy and the private evaluation and the private movement into the public sector out in Suffolk County. I had a great time. My plan was only to stay there like 1 or 2 years. The next thing I know, I was rounding my 4th year, and I was like, time out. I gotta set back, and I have to sort of take control of what my next move would be. And when I got out there in Suffolk County, I reconnected with some colleagues from my first job. Mike Matoro, who came in with me at Kenneth Leventhal, which was the accounting firm. I don't know if I mentioned it. It merged with EY and whatever.
That's where Mike's from?
Yeah, Mike Matoro and Joanne Muniry. We started out at this public accounting firm. Wow. And I reconnected with him out on Long Island, because RXR was in Uniondale. And we saw each other. You make friends during your career that they stay with you forever, whether you see them or not. If you pop out, you see them at a conference, and you make those connections, which are always incredibly, incredibly important. And he asked me what I was doing, and I said, nothing much. I was trying to rethink how I was going to come back into private, and I had this incredible opportunity to join RXR with Mike and Scott Reckler and Todd Reckler, and I basically started working closely with Todd, and we created the development platform. And I was lucky enough to have my colleagues from Forest City, who basically, in my opinion, sort of built the Brooklyn, New York City skyline, and some of them joined me. They're here today. They're incredible people, and I love their support. And I'm here, and I've achieved the things I've achieved because of the people I worked with. And
So now you're into a whole nother round of development, though, for RXR. I mean, it's like crazy how many projects you have going on.
Oh my goodness! We were starting out with we were starting out with residential, which was all exciting, and next thing we know, we're looking at maybe the next biggest office tower. We're looking at
that would be the Grand Hyatt.
That would be the Grand Hyatt. We're looking at JetBlue terminals. We're looking at, right, Rebecca, the Nassau Coliseum hub. We're looking at Garvey's Point, New Rochelle. Incredible and dynamic projects that we work on, but it's really all about the people. It's about the camaraderie, the cooperation, the communication is so super critical. It's important to inspire confidence and have colleagues who feel comfortable to talk about the situations, the issues, to work them out. And I think a big part of that is just about who you are personally and your commitment to what you're doing.
Right.
And I think that's
yeah, it's interesting because you got Bruce Ratner, and then you've got Scott
Reckler,
Reckler, very much like
Mike
family
Vitoro,
oriented, and similar but different environments.
Right.
Because Forest City really did a lot of public-private, whereas RXR does a lot with international partners and partnerships and the like.
That is true. Yeah.
If I can divert for 1 second, as we were listening to the conversation with the leasing, you listen and you think about all you're developing, and you have to think about all these amenities that everybody wants, the environmental, conditions that they want. This must be getting extraordinarily difficult to deliver within your projects in a budget-conscious manner.
Yes. Well, we really we do monitor our projects very, very closely, and I think we have a rhythm, and we stick with that rhythm. And it's interesting and exciting times. Even during the pandemic, we were under construction with several buildings at different stages of construction. But we all, we got together, we put the protocol in place, we spoke every morning, and because communication is key, there's just no doubt about it.
You had your own app.
Key. We have our own app. But, it's just nice to be part of an organization where you contribute to its growth and its dynamic opportunities.
Right.
And that's really what it's all about, right, Darcy?
Yep. So Joanne, you know I head the diversity committee for REBNY, or co-head it, and our work involves guiding diverse individuals through their challenges. And as a member of this community, the LGBTQ community, can you give any advice to gay professionals in the audience?
Okay, what is my advice? I'm a very simple woman. I show up every day and I do my best, okay? And there will be situations that you will find yourself in that are potentially uncomfortable, right? But I will tell you, throughout my life, both career and personal, I've always been able to find someone to talk to. I've always been able to really sort of separate what's important in the situation I find myself in and what's really just a mere distraction. And I would just say that how you choose to live your personal life is one thing. And how you choose to proceed in your professional life is influenced by that, but it is not controlled by it. So, I don't often talk about my personal life. That's just the type of person I am, although there are a lot of people in this audience who know me. But I can only say that if you struggle with something, there is somebody out there who you can talk to. But don't let it distract you in your efforts to achieve whatever goals you set for yourself.
Yeah, you walk in the room as a professional and that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah, everybody has a personal life, and everyone, has a professional life, and they should work together.
Right.
Yeah.
So as a special point of pride, all the senior women in this room all hope to be on a major public board, and you recently have been asked to join Virtu Financial. So I love the story you told about how that came to pass, because it seems like there's always family connections that roll with you.
Yeah, so one of the opportunities that I got to be involved in when I was with Forest City was out of the real estate industry and into the sports industry. Because if you all know, I think you all know that Forest City built the Barclays Center. And we approached that investment as a real estate investment. So if we had a tenant, then we could build the building, right? You want to lease it up, pre-lease it as best you can. So we went out and we purchased the New Jersey Nets, which are now the Brooklyn Nets. And I had the opportunity to work on that particular Nets investment, which was outside of real estate.
Which is when everybody was like, this team will never win ever, 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 ever.
And it was fun. It was definitely fun, different for sure. But we had to find investors for the arena, first of all, for the team. And one of our first investors was Vinnie Viola, who was the chairman of the New York Mercantile Exchange. Forest City built the New York Mercantile Exchange for NYMEX. That was one of our that's how Bruce initially met Vinnie. So Vinnie was one of our first investors in the New Jersey Nets, and he stayed with us throughout, and it was an exciting time, a difficult time also, but exciting and different. Mm-hmm. And he created an electronic trading firm called Virtu. And Vinnie and I, we just hit it off. He was a very dynamic business person, and he happened to be from Brooklyn. And we just, throughout that whole investment, we were connected. And he moved on. He sold his interests when the Nets got sold. So, long story short, he formed a firm, and he reached out to me to join his board just recently. It's been many, many years. And they're a global leader in the market making and execution services. He's basically he uses cutting edge technology to execute on trades. And he asked me to join his board, and Doug Sifu is his CEO. I know both of them from my relationship with them at the Nets, because that was also a very dynamic and different relationship. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited that our business relationship, we're friends obviously first, but our business relationship expanded. And I look forward to being a part of a really dynamic company. It's quite exciting. You know, throughout my career in real estate, I've made a lot of friends. I'm not very much out there, and I don't do a lot, you know, even with DARCY. Being a part of this conference is quite exciting, and, you know, Lori Golub's like, Joe, you got to do it. It's important. But what I did find out as I pursued my career is that there are certain people who will support you no matter what you do. And there are certain people who will look to you for guidance and advice. But I will tell you that I think the biggest takeaway for me was the fact that, you know, we all talk about the importance of relationships. And I couldn't sit here today without telling you that I got to where I am in my career because of the relationships that I created and I nurtured. When I started out in my career, I wanted to be the best I could be. I wanted to be the person somebody picked to be on their work group, because I felt that if I showed the dedication and the commitment to success in everything that I was involved in, that somehow, you know, ultimately it would, you know, reflect well on me. But really, for me, what I found out in my career is that it was the people that I met along the way, and the people that extended themselves for each other. So even today, I came to RXR, I came pretty much by myself, but my Forest City team is with me. Forest City has since been acquired, and my team that made me who I am today is here with me, and I would like to take this opportunity, besides thanking my loving and supporting family that I obviously am lucky to have, that my colleagues from my days at Forest City, you know, continue to support me and continue to grow in their own careers. They're all, you know, well-established professionals in the industry. I'm proud to be a part of the group that are changing the landscape of our city. And I just want to acknowledge them and thank them for everything they've done for me and the growth of my career. I don't think I would have been able to do it without you guys, so thank you all.
God, if you didn't love Joanne before, come on. She's amazing.
No, but I think it's, well, how can I not? You really think about, when you get interviewed, you know, you really do think about, you know, how did you get where you got today? You know, I have nieces, and my nieces in the audience, as I mentioned, but I do get asked, how did you get where you are today? You know, I don't know how I got here. All I know is that I did whatever I could to get to the next level. I worked with whoever I had to work with to make whatever job I was put on a success. Have I had my failures? Of course I have. You know, I tried to, pick myself up, brush myself off, and move forward. But what I hope I did in my career with the people I worked with or the people I encountered was, I hope I left an impression that basically said that, you know, this person, this woman who worked on my job, she cared about what she was doing. You know, it was important. And it was. I felt that, my efforts had to be, were important to be seen and heard. I'm not somebody who, as you know, Darcy, I kick and scream to come on stage. I'm not really a person who likes to be out there, but I do want to be acknowledged, and I want to acknowledge the people in my career that when you make a commitment and you communicate and you have integrity, those are the special qualities about a professional that help you succeed, and they seem to follow you. So to have Mike Matoro, who knows how long it was, 15, 20 years later, say, hey, Joe, come work with my firm. I mean, that was pretty special. It came out of the blue. I really didn't expect it. Right. So I'm thankful for that, and I have a lot of gratitude in everything I've done in my career. So. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. You've been building buildings and building from built relationships.
And I'm an accountant by trade. I'm a CPA. So every industry has opportunities.
Any last bits of advice you'd give anybody in the audience before we give you your award?
Give me my award, yeah. First of all, I want to thank everybody for listening to my story. And what is my advice? Communicate, be committed. Let people know that what you're doing is important, and collaboration is critical. you know, you will encounter hardships. You know, I did my best to lean into them. And, you know, just, you know, look back and, I don't know, be thankful. I am, really. And
That's
I thank
great.
you, Darcy. That's how I'm still nervous.
I usually get Stacy. I got the Darcy steak from
Stacey, Darcy,
alliteration.
I'm so sorry. Because I am nervous. And thank you all for listening. I mean, you know, I appreciate it.
Thank you.